Good evening and welcome to the Gateway Board of School Directors regular board meeting Tuesday, March 21st, 2017. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Connie, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Byrne.
Present.
Mrs. Cerrucci. Here. Mr. Lapsevich.
Present.
Mr. Nola.
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Here.
Mr. Ritter.
Here.
Mr. Stubenbord.
Here.
Mrs. Warning.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here. This time, Valerie.
Yes, at this time, I would like to introduce one of Gateway's students that has become very known lately in the news. Miss Olivia Livingston, if you could come up to the podium, please. Miss Livingston, this past weekend, was at the States swimming, and she had a new record in the 50 freestyle of 22.73, which she set a new record. The old record she broke was from 2012 of 22.75.
This was a PIAA record.
State record.
The fastest girl in the history of all girls in this Commonwealth of Pennsylvania stands right there. She jumped in the water. She didn't even get wet. She just went back and she jumped out dry. It was incredible.
Also in that 100 freestyle, she placed second. She missed first place by 0.1 second. She had a 49.53 time, and the first place was 49.52. So again, Miss Livingston, congratulations, and thank you for that. All right, as far as the Whippeals, she also, in the 50 freestyle, broke a record that was held here at Gateway for 28 years. She had a time of 22.83, which is a new Whippeal record here in the 50 freestyle, and in the 100 freestyle, she broke another record that was held for 29 years. She swam at 49.53, which was also a new Whippeal record. On top of that, with all her dedication, devotion to her swimming, she's not only top in her swimming, she is also has a GPA of 4.28.
Whoa.
So not just on the water, but on land. I want to thank you for representing Gateway and more positive in everything that's going on. And behind her is her coach that cheers her on, is Coach Jonathan Moore. And if you would care to say something, that's your call.
All right. All I can say is Olivia's been a pleasure to coach. She's a vital asset to the team. She's a great leader. She cheers on all her teammates, and she's just a great to have on deck. She's a cheer. You can see she always smiles, and she works her butt off. And obviously in the water and in the schoolroom. So.
Coach John, is she a senior this year?
Olivia is a freshman this year.
Freshman?
Yes,
She's
that would be 3 more
she's
years.
She's a freshman.
Yes, 3 more years.
Where are the Olympics in 2008?
They're in Tokyo.
Right.
Tokyo.
So it is amazing for a
Your
freshman
flight plans ready.
to break a state record. Congratulations. Olivia.
And
Did you hear me applauding for you on TV? That was me.
She deserves everything, every credit for it. So.
Olivia, I'm Steve O'Donnell, and I have 2 kids who swam. They were good swimmers too. Went to PIAAs and went up to the or WIPs and then went to PIAA. I think what a lot of folks don't know is that it's an extraordinary amount of work in swimming just to be average, just to get in the water and not embarrass yourself. So to do as well as you have done is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, and I appreciate, I mean, sometimes I can still smell the chlorine from all the events I went to, but I do appreciate that the numbers are awesome, but the work ethic that has to go in behind that is tremendous, and you obviously do a great job. And you should be really, and I'm sure you are, proud of that. And hopefully the residents of Monroeville, sure they're equally proud. And I just want them to know that that's a ton of work to be as good as you are. So congratulations.
Olivia, my name is Mr. Short. I'm the former high school principal at Gateway for a number of years, and also a proud Gateway graduate. I had the pleasure, as a young man while attending Gateway, to see Melanie Morgan, Michelle Chow, and all those names that are listed on that board that you practice up at, the swim complex every day. And to follow you and your achievements, not only in the pool, but in the classroom, epitomizes what we're all about, and that is the student athlete. And you've definitely taken that to the next level, and I can't tell you how proud I am of you. The phone calls I've received, I was down at the superintendent's advisory council meeting today, and being stopped by area superintendents commenting on, is she a freshman? And it just made me proud, because you have continued the Gator legacy of swimming. So thank you very much.
Olivia, do you swim in the summer at a local pond?
I swim for the JCC Sailfish.
Okay, do you swim for like Haymaker or any of the ones
No,
you swim?
they have a long course program.
Yeah, okay. What I was going to say, and I'm sure this will still happen, you said Michelle Chow. So my daughter swam with Michelle Chow. I think she was 9, and Michelle was, older and bigger. And the point I was going to make is that my daughter looked at Michelle Chow like she was a hero. And so many young girls and boys are going to look at you the same way. And I think you're going to find that really great. And, if it ever comes to a point where you don't want to get in the water and swim with that little kid, just remember the story. Megan just thought, my daughter, that Michelle Chow walked on water. She was just so awesome. And I'm sure you're there too. So as you go through, okay?
Mr. Lapsevich?
Yeah, my name's George Lapsevich. I'm honored to represent you on school board, and good luck of all you have to do. Thank you.
Thank you again for coming this evening.
Thank you.
You have anything else, Joe?
Thank you.
Is there any comments from residents on agenda items only? Anybody sign up on?
No one signed up in advance.
Section A, minutes of the previous meeting. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves the minutes of the following held meetings. Study session meeting February 7th, regular board meeting February 21st, Budget and Finance Committee meeting February 23rd.
So moved.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please, Mike.
Mrs. Cerucci. Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Stubenbort.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne.
Aye.
Motion carries. Section B, Mr. Shutt.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Section B, resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves Sections B1, list of bills, B2, monthly financial statements, and B3, budget transfers, as listed in Section B of the Tuesday, March 21st, 2017 regular board meeting.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Stubenbort, second by Mr. Nola. Questions, comments on Section B? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Stubenbort.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye.
Motion carries. Section sheet, we don't have anything tabled, carried over, correct?
No.
Section D, personnel agenda. Mr. Crump.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors accepts and approves the personnel agenda items 1 through 6 as listed in Section D for the regular board meeting of Tuesday, March 21st, 2017. I would like to call to attention under leave of absences on page 3, there are 3 additional names since the last meeting. We also added under substitute teachers, 2 names, and also under volunteers. And those are highlighted by a single asterisk.
Your motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Stubenbort, second by Mr. O'Donnell. Questions, comments?
I just have a question. With these leaves of absences, ones that say that their effective dates, say in December, they're coming back in February, are they back? Then why are they on the agenda?
Because
How
some,
is that?
as far as like, which one are we looking at?
I'm just looking at, there's several, I just don't want to.
Typically, what they do is they give us on the leave of absence letter a time of start time and an anticipated end time. That's why on a lot of them, you'll see a continuation, because when that time comes, they'll give us another doctor's notice that extends it through that time period.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
I, except for part 4, I'm a volunteer myself, so I don't feel comfortable approving myself to volunteer myself. So, aye.
Abstain from it. Mr. Stubenbort.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne.
Aye to all but the school police officer.
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Motion carries. Section E, conferences and conventions. Mr. Short, Crump.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I'm going to defer to Dr. Chakey to handle conferences and conventions.
Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves and authorizes the following conferences and conventions as listed in Section E at the regular board meeting of Tuesday, March 21st, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Stubenfort, second by Mr. Nola. Question, comments on Section E? Seeing none, roll call, Bonnie?
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Stubenfort.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Motion carries. Section F, administrative resolutions. Mr. Short.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. For Section F, Dr. Rossi, would you take the overnight excursions, please?
Sure. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves and authorizes as appropriate the following items. The first one is the overnight excursions. We have several student overnight field trips, most of them dealing with the music, the BMEA.
Item number 2, Mr. Schott.
Yes, administration seeking approval to advertise for bids for the cafeteria fund for milk bid for the 17-18 fiscal year.
Item number 3, again, Mr. Schott.
And item number 3, the various donations as depicted for each of the donations, as well as the recipient, utilization, building, and amounts for those 4 depicted. And the next item, to continue district photography services with Elaine Petrakis Photography for the fiscal years as indicated, and as continued on the next page and indicated in the note as well. Item number 5, the rental contracts with Mr. John for sanitation services for the 2017 calendar year, and is depicted in Exhibit A.
And item number 6, I will take that one. It's a continuation participation through the extension of the term for the Eastern Area Special Schools restated jointure agreement for the Sunrise School, and there was an exhibit posted for that. Item number 7, the 2017-18 AIU Program of Services budget, which is depicted. And item number 8, we have a policy update review for 30 days. We're seeking approval for the 30-day public review of the following policy, which is the cyber bullying and bullying policy, and that is item number 249. Item number 9, Mr. Schott.
Sure. Purchase of district-wide telephone system and maintenance service agreement. Approve the administration's request to purchase a new district-wide telephone system from Advent Communications Incorporated for a one-time purchase amount of $124,906 with an ongoing maintenance service cost of $637.78 per month for the 3-year period of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2020, and approve the purchase of 50 SIP trunks from Comcast Business for the amount of $617.50 per month as depicted in Exhibit D.
Mr. President, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Nola, second by Mr. Stubenfort. Questions, comments?
I'd like to ask the board to consider number 9 separately from the other items.
We could do that. We have to amend
Are we
it.
talking?
Yeah.
I want to speak to number 9 too, actually, for something. Okay.
Well, then a motion is in order to pass 1 through 8.
I'll move that we vote on items 1 through 8.
Second.
Motion and a second. What happened to the motion?
All those in favor?
All those in favor? No, what happened to the motion before this?
All right, we motioned
You
for
made,
all
no,
of
there
these.
was a motion before
Yeah, there was
this.
a motion.
You did, and that was for all 9. That was for all 9.
Right, so,
Okay. So then you should make a motion to table number 9.
All right, then I'll move to table item number 9.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to table. Roll
Now,
call
this
vote.
table is only going to be for this item.
Item
Now,
9.
You can then consider it separately after that. That's the way we're going to deal with that.
all right,
Wait, say that again.
Unless you want to make it a motion to table, take it off completely off the table.
This is a vote to.
Table number
Table
nine.
All right,
number
we
9.
table, then I'll bring it back on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So we're voting on the table first, is that
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Stubenbort.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
No.
Mrs. Byrne.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci.
No.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, so vote on now the...
I'd like to move a motion to vote on numbers 1
1
through
through
8.
8.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Nola, second by Ms. Byrne. Roll call vote, 1 through 8.
Okay, Mr. Stubenbort.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to untable number 9.
Second.
No, he's okay to do that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Motion by Mr. Nola, second by Mr. Stubenbort to untable number 9. Questions, comments?
We're just untabling it.
All those in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Okay, so it's back on for discussion.
Okay.
We talk?
Yes.
Okay, now you can talk.
We're out of time.
Well, you need a motion before you...
I make the motion to
What do you want to do?
discuss number 9.
You made a
And,
motion
oh wait, to vote on it eventually.
Well, I think...
Vote on number
to
9.
approve the administrative.
To approve number 9.
Second.
Yes.
Administration.
So people know, it's the purchase of a district-wide telephone system and maintenance service agreement. Motion and a second
To approve.
to approve.
Yes.
Questions, comments on number 9? Mr. Nola.
All right, here's my comment. All right. This has been going around for a while, all right? And I'm for this because it actually is saving money. But I got some, a concern, one little concern. But I think that hopefully the administrators can alleviate this. I want to just make sure, because of all the stuff that's been going on with this, that this is truly the administrator's recommendation. That's the first thing. I'll just ask that right now.
Yes.
Yes.
Micah?
Yes. All right, and I want you to actually, for one thing, I want you to kind of demonstrate it to me. And I'll vote for it, and I'll even vote for it now, actually. But I want you to, before we purchase the stuff or whatever we got to do, I want you to demonstrate it to me by, I know you already gave us some details about costings. I want you to demonstrate how many phones, when you're doing them, when you're taking them off, when you're putting them on. I want you to demonstrate the details of exactly what we're gonna do. Because that way I know that you guys really wanna do this. And that's what I wanna say about it. So I wanna know when you're doing it, when you're taking phones off, when you're putting phones on, when you're purchasing, when you're returning old equipment. I had to know all those details.
I want, I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Neil.
Do you want us to present this,
Yeah,
say,
can-
at the study session in 2 weeks?
I'm saying.
I mean,
I'm
we have
willing
the-
to-
we
I'm
have the
willing to vote on it
information.
right now. If he's willing to tell me right now, then I'm willing to listen.
Yeah, I can't give you an exact day-by-day schedule, but I can give you a general rundown.
And you're gonna give me numbers of how many phones there are and
Yeah, so
stuff.
it's actually in
Just-
the exhibit.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not sure.
So the public understands, this is Mr. Michael Brown, Director of Technology for the Gateway School District.
So in Exhibit D, I believe it is, it does break down how many pieces of equipment we're buying. And I might be off by a few, but I believe it's 407, what I consider classroom class phones, and 86, I believe, office-type phones. So those are the raw numbers. There's obviously other pieces of equipment in the system. As far as schedule, the goal is to start programming it as soon as we get this approved and we make the purchase. Advent will be immediately start programming the equipment, getting it set up for use in our district. Then what's going to occur as soon as school's out, we're going to start swapping out the non-critical pieces. So the secretaries would actually still be using our current phone system until every other piece of equipment's up. And then once we're comfortable that the new phone system is up and running, then the secretaries will be switched over and our phone lines will be ported over to the new system. Since we're starting this project in actually early June, that should give us most of the month to get through it before the hard cutover at the beginning of July, which is when our current phone contract is up.
Can you discuss the professional development as far as the company providing technicians to be on site for our teachers and staff early on in the process so they understand how to use the phones, how to access, et cetera?
Yeah, so there's both technicians to come in and help set up the phone system as well as do training. The training will actually take place in multiple phases. So the secretaries and administrators will actually get one set of training for their phones, and then there'll be other trainings provided to teachers, a much more abbreviated training for teachers on how to use the classroom phones, specifically how to handle maybe an emergency communication or how to call the office, very common scenarios that they want to do very quickly. But that's all outlined in our deployment in Exhibit D.
Any other questions, Mr. Nola?
I have, I'm going to make a motion to table, and the reason I'm going to make a motion to table this is because there is an unresolved $200,000 issue out there with respect to the current provider.
Okay, motions to table don't get into discussion. It's a motion to table, a second, and you vote on it.
I understand, I'm just explaining why I'm going to do that.
I know.
I'm not allowed to explain.
No, you're not allowed to get into rationales.
Okay, before he tables, can
Too
I?
late.
No.
You made a motion,
Well, no,
somebody
nobody
has to
seconded.
second.
Nobody seconded yet.
No, I didn't make a motion yet. I
Oh,
said
you
I
were
was
going
going
to
to make a motion.
Is that like next month you're gonna make the motion?
You're going to make a motion. Okay.
Yes. So, my point, the point I'm making here is that there's an unresolved $200,000 issue that the attorney has to work through, I think, before we should take a vote on it. Now, so I'll move to table the item.
I want a discussion, but that's okay.
I do not.
Is there a second to table?
Second.
Motion and a second to table, roll call vote.
Mrs. Warning?
This is to table,
To table.
correct? Yes.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Mrs. Byrne?
Yes.
Mrs. Cerucci?
No.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. Nola?
No.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Ritter?
No.
Mr. Stubenbort?
No.
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
Can we discuss this yet then? We allowed any
think
more
We can still
discussion?
discuss.
There's a
Now
motion
it's
on
back
the-
on the floor to
There's
discuss.
a
There's a
motion on
motion
the
to
second.
approve in a second.
Right.
Okay. Okay, my question is, talking to some of your tech people, Mr. Brown, the system that we have in place now, Skoka, it's not as much as the phones that you're not aware of working, it's the teachers not advising you that the phones are not working. They go to pick them up at times, and then, oh, it's not working, then they don't say anything to anybody in critical times. So are we holding Skoka that against the current phone system that we have, saying that we need to, bring in a new system? if you would sit down with their management, with our administration, put on, you know, to tie things up. I mean, I'm looking at 200,000, possibly 250,000 we still owe this company.
Isn't the main thing that we're saving 9,000 a month?
I'm still talking, thank you. That we're looking at, we're gonna have to buy out 200-some thousand, okay, and bring in a new phone system. Can you guarantee that there's not gonna be any little glitches, there's not gonna be anything happening, that you have a new phone system that you're bringing in and the secretaries are using the old phone system, tie everything, and that it will be ready to go for the school year coming up?
I can't guarantee it's going to be a completely smooth, seamless transition. That's obviously the plan. As far as guaranteeing there's going to be no problems, unfortunately, I don't think anyone can guarantee anytime you switch to a new system. From the research I did with Advent, they've been very good about fixing problems for their other customers, as well as from reading up on the solution they provided. I feel comfortable that they can provide all the features we need in a reasonable package. So I'm fairly confident it'll be a nice transition. I can't guarantee it's going to be smooth. As for the outstanding balance, that I can't speak to right now.
Scotty, may I comment?
Yes.
I feel like the people out here probably have no idea what we're talking about. Am I right? Like, did you? I feel like
I know what you're talking about.
People that are watching on TV need a little bit of an explanation. So basically, we have an existing phone contract. The word contract is sketchy because it's questionable. It doesn't even have a lot of dollar amounts in it. But the board did approve to pay about $7,200 a month for this phone service back in 2014. The company's been overcharging us. They've been charging us about $10,000 a month. The phone system isn't working properly. We have a lot of complaints about it. Several months ago, we put it out to bid. We had a recommendation from administration to go with a new company that would save us $10,000 a month. We ended up not passing it. It's before us again. Our attorney's been working with the company and trying to get the contract and to prove and to get us out of it. And we've come up with, right now, we owe them, they say $200,000 we owe them to buy out.
That's their position.
That's their position. It's not the board's position or Gateway's position. But worst case scenario is we pay them the $200,000 and we walk away. And if we do that and we go with a new company, we'll still save money. So that is why some of the board members, including myself, are voting to move forward, because we want Miko and the new company to be able to start working together to secure the phone equipment so he's ready in June when school's out to implement the phone rollout. Because we don't want to roll out a new phone system during the school year. We would like to do that over the summer. So we need to work behind the scenes to get out of the contract with the other company and come up with a term to buy out that we're both happy with. But I think some of the board's position, including myself, is why should we delay the new company? Because either way, we're still going to be saving money every month. So I hope that you understand what we're having a discussion about. Some other people want to table it because they want to resolve the issue with the current company, the legal issue in the contract. So that's, I just wanted to give that to you guys so you can kind of follow what we're discussing.
Well, I mean, also, I think that this bid is good for 30 days. So technically, we could wait and find out how much the buyout is for the current company, and then vote on this using the current bid, knowing exactly how much the school district is going to save and how much we're going to spend to get out of the contract. So my position is simply to just wait until we know exactly how much it is to get out of the current contract, and then move on to the next one.
I hear you, and I'm somewhere on the fence on that, but I want to ask these guys, Paul, what's your position on this? Can you give us your position on this, please?
There's a definite savings on this, no matter whether the amount ends up being the 200 or an amount less than that. And we're looking at a reduction of about $9,248 a month by switching services. That's significant for that as well. But I think one of the two main things with it is that we want to be able to give Mr. Brown and the rest of the technology department enough time to properly prepare, have the equipment on site, and be able to implement the transition, particularly looking at at the end of the school year, early June, to provide enough time prior to the final cutover, as he refers it to, switching from the current provider to the new provider for that. as well as obviously to make the purchase in the current fiscal year, which is fiscally prudent for us to be able to realize expenditure.
So your recommendation is to do it now, because saving the money actually, obviously doing that, and also giving us the time to do this stuff. And so your recommendation is to do it now?
Correct.
Mr. Short, your recommendation is to do it now or not?
Mr. Nola, historically speaking, going back to 2014, this district and our taxpayers, especially our teaching staff, was placed in a very difficult position of getting a new student management system called iPass in the middle of July going into August, as well as a brand-new phone system. And I'm looking around the room at our educators who are with me right now, who are rolling their eyes, shaking their heads, wondering what was going on. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
By allowing this process to happen now ensures that we are able to get the phones, the technology in place, troubleshoot, ensure that every classroom is up and running. Phones are in place for the start of the school year so professional development can happen for our teachers.
So I'm under the understanding that everybody is on board with doing this now, and it's gonna save us money no matter where we fall on our other issue. with it.
We're looking at fiscal savings moving forward with all of our next budgets.
Can we call the questions, Cody?
America.
Yeah, we're ready.
Roll call vote, Bonnie.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne.
Yes.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
No.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell.
No.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Stubenbort.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
No.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Section G, any resolutions by any board members this evening? All right, moving along. Comments from residents on non-agenda items. Those who filed a request in advance will be heard first. Anybody file, Bonnie?
No, no one's filed.
Anybody wish to address the school board at this time? Mr. Brown? No, not sure. Richard?
Mr.
I find it
Bicycle.
interesting that the city of Pittsburgh today announced.
Have to go up to the
podium.
There's a microphone up there.
Even though that voice,
You don't know me, David Bicycle?
that voice does carry, I might add.
Huh?
The voice does carry.
Yeah, I know, sorry.
That's a
I was
good,
at the doctor, excuse my shorts and my attire, I was at the doctor today. Yeah, I was just curious if you all heard and read the paper today that the city of Pittsburgh is going to copy Gateway, and one of the school board members is asking for armed police force. I find it very interesting that an attorney from Duquesne University called it a recipe for disaster. But
Everybody's entitled
it's
to their
very
opinion.
interesting that, everybody knows my feeling on this. And I'm glad my wife retired.
That's it.
And that's all I'll say. But it's nice to read about it in the paper.
Glad to
Thank
see
you.
you recovering, too. It's nice to
Oh,
see
yeah,
you.
I got permission to play golf in 2 weeks, so 6 weeks out, got a brand new knee, don't need another one.
Anybody else wish to address the board? Seeing none? Mr. Dice, do you have anything for us tonight?
Nothing further.
Mr. Crop?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Schott?
Actually, just one item, just wanted to get this date out there. We've actually moved the next Budget and Finance Committee meeting. The new meeting date is going to be Tuesday, April 25th. Again, Tuesday, April 25th at 6 PM in the high school LGI.
Is that the personnel one?
Yes, personnel and staffing.
So you're having one the 10th, April 10th?
That one's been canceled.
That's canceled.
That's moved,
Okay, all right, just making sure.
Anything else, Mr. Schott?
That'll do. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Rossi?
have two quick items. Just wanted to congratulate Cleveland Stewart Elementary. Mr. Jack received notification that CSE will be recognized at the 2017 Positive Behavior Support Forum, which is sponsored by PD and Hershey this May. So congratulations to Mr. Jack and the faculty and staff of CSE for this recognition, and we'll have the overnight request for the April meeting. I just want to remind parents also the kindergarten registration is ongoing. We have several events scheduled. The next events that we have scheduled are some in-person registrations at each of the elementary buildings. Ramsey will be April 3rd, University Park April 4th, CSE April 5th, Evergreen April 6th, and those will run from 6 to 8 o'clock at the buildings.
Thank you. Mr. Jakey?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Ritter? No,
Sure,
I'm sorry,
I-
wait, I forgot the big guy. Mr. Short.
Big guy.
Big guy. No big
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Just for the board, our community as well, this Thursday, the 23rd, I believe, and making sure I have the correct date, it's Thursday the 23rd, our National Honor Society induction ceremony at Gateway High School. For those of you who have attended in the past, it's truly a wonderful event to honor and recognize our students for induction into that program. Mr. Sean Whelan has been the advisor for a number of years and does a tremendous job. So if you do have an opportunity, please join us on Thursday evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Mr. Ritter?
Sure, a couple things. I went to the Allegheny County Legislative Forum on Education on the 16th, a couple days ago. Some of our representatives and senators spoke. It was hosted by John Delano, and a lot of folks in the audience asking some pretty good questions. I came away with it with the feeling that the thing I most enjoyed about the evening was the oatmeal cookie that I ate. So that's tongue-in-cheek, but there are some tremendous problems going on right now with education, with pension, with personal property taxes versus schools that have to cut budgets and drugs in schools and on and on and on. And so I was hoping, like we all do, for someone to come up with some nugget of truth that would help move us all forward, and I didn't spot that. So I don't know what to do about that. I'm about to go to Harrisburg in a couple weeks on our behalf and try to advocate. The PSBA, Pennsylvania School Board Association, they come up with some bullet points that school board directors are supposed to toss to the senators and the representatives to help advocate. I'm not so sure I'm comfortable with making some of the requests that the PSBA is advocating for. So I'm pretty stuck here. I'm pretty stuck, and I don't know what to do about that. So that's my report.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. Byrne?
Well, first of all, congratulations to Olivia Livingston on her accomplishments. It's awesome to see Gateway students excel not only in the classroom, but also with their personal sports endeavors as well. And then also, I just wanted to thank the staff for the elementary chorus concert and the art show last week. It was wonderful seeing all that the students had accomplished and listening to the concert. We really do have wonderful staff here at Gateway. And then the last thing was, there were two editorials in the Times Express the last few weeks requesting proof on the motion to censure Chad Steubenbort. I hesitate to bring about the proof publicly, only because, I don't wish to drag out this conversation longer and bring about the negative press associated with it as well. However, I will speak to just one item, and that is the hiring of the superintendent secretary. So on Tuesday, August 16th, 2016, the motion was made to approve the secretary to the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and Gateway Foundation for
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt and call point of order, because this is a personnel issue, and you just named an employee of the district.
Okay.
That's executive session material. Point of order, Scotty.
Well, can I add one thing for the solicitor, though? So he can make a decision?
Go ahead, what?
Okay. So, on the motion, which is public record, and it's in the minutes, we never specified a salary for that. Do we need to do that?
Okay, so you're questioning the motion that was made to hire her?
Yes, and there's no
Or him.
salary mentioned, or him.
Well, you know the rule about 508. Everybody's heard it several times. In fact, in the executive session, we just did it again. An expenditure over $100, the board has to vote on it. Now, what are you telling me? I don't know what happened in August.
Can I finish?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So the motion was made to approve the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and Gateway Foundation for a term of 5 years, effective July 1st, 2016, with the terms and conditions as defined by Act 93, Category 3 agreement. So there was not a salary attached to that
So
motion.
you're not calling into question any discipline or anything like that?
I am not calling into question any discipline.
Well, I think that's appropriate. I mean, that's not personnel. It's just setting a salary for an employee.
Okay. Can I discuss the reason why this was rushed through?
This is your report. I'm trying to rule on the issue of whether or not a point of order is appropriate. I would suggest to you, if it's not discipline and it has nothing to do with the employee's performance, rather it has to do with setting salaries, which is public, that's appropriate to do in your report.
Okay.
That's all I'm commenting on.
All right. So there wasn't a salary set. So I spoke with the superintendent to sort of understand how this happened. And, I'm at fault as well. We all are. We approved this motion without a salary. And furthermore, we gave the position a 5-year contract, but pursuant to Act 93, Category 3 agreement. And so again, Mr. Dice, I ask your opinion. Should we be giving a 5-year agreement along with Act 93 terms and conditions?
Did we approve that? Trish, is she an Act 93 employee?
No, she's not.
No,
She's a contract employee.
She's a contracted
Okay.
employee, and
Well,
our
she's
contracted employees...
She's either one or the other. She's not both.
It has been set up that the contracted employees follow some of the benefits of Act 93. So that's how that wording got entitled into it.
Is that what it says I don't have the contract. Is that what it says in her contract, that she gets certain benefits under Act 93?
Certain benefits under Act 93.
Okay. Well, she's not an Act 93 employee.
Correct.
That's what I'm hearing you say.
Correct.
So she's a contract employee that has Act 93 benefits in the language, because I haven't seen the contract. Does that answer I don't know whether you're asking a question.
Well, I'm asking, as a board, are we at risk for having on the minutes and no public vote as to the salary of a position? And are we at risk in public record of essentially having 2 conflicting contracts on the minutes?
Okay. As to the second issue, I think you're fine.
Okay.
I think you can have
We voted on the salary in June, 2 months prior.
No, we just voted to transfer.
All right, let's do one thing at a time here. And everybody's going to get a chance at this. As to the second point, as to whether or not she's covered under both things, she's not. She is a contract employee that has some of the benefits under Act 93. She's not an Act 93 employee with a just cause provision that says you can't fire her unless there's just cause. She or he could be terminated at will with the contract. There might be a severance package, but she could. As to the point number 1, you need to set salaries for everybody that you hire. If you, not salaries, any expenditure over $100, you need to vote on it. That's what 508 says. Whether, if you're telling me, under your hypothetical or under your example, it sounds like there was no vote to set her salary at the time she was hired.
Correct.
That leaves Chad.
We need verification on that.
Wait a
That's
second.
not my recollection.
I mean, I didn't know this was coming up, but I thought that we did have a salary at some point. I'm not positive. I mean, obviously there's a salary, she's getting paid something.
Yeah, and we know she's getting paid less than the last employee, so how do we know that if we didn't discuss it? Because I remember discussing this, and she's getting paid, I believe, $10,000 less than her predecessor.
What was in the budget?
The salary was budgeted for prior to the adoption of the budget, which I believe was in a line item of $50,000. that correct?
Okay.
Just
Just,
discussed in
let's,
executive session and voted on publicly, correct?
okay, let's just
No.
remember now. Just because you budgeted something doesn't mean that you have established the salary for the employee. When you hire somebody, you need to set the salary. You need to, if you're going to expend money. Now, I don't want to put my fact situation into this. Just know that if you haven't set a salary for the employee, you need to do so. You don't put her, you're not at risk, she's at risk, because the expenditure may have been illegal. So I would
Motion to
suggest-
approve the salary of Bill Secretary for $50,000.
Well, there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Could you repeat?
I
I
thought this
didn't
was
hear.
already approved. What Bill just said.
Bill, can you comment?
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Could you repeat
Not
the
yet.
motion? I didn't hear it.
Repeat your
Motion.
Mary Beth, repeat.
Is that the right number?
Yes.
I said motion to
Approve.
publicly approve the salary of Mr. Short, Mr. Jakey, and Mr. Rossi's secretary at the budgeted amount of $50,000.
That's the motion. Is there a second? Seeing no second, motion fails.
All right, this is Stephanie's report, so I don't want to jump in except for,
That's the problem.
is there a chance that Bill
Well,
can
because something like it should not be
comment
done
on
during
this?
reports,
Oh,
it should
sure.
be done during,
that's what
like your,
I mean, I
Just
hear
let me
what you're
wrap it up.
saying.
I have 2 minutes left. Just give me 2 minutes.
Okay, go,
and I'll
you
wrap
can
it
go
up.
ahead, because
Okay.
I would like to hear what he has to say about this and how it transpires.
So there was a motion made on August 16th, and it was a regular board meeting. And it listed the person's name and the position, and it was a 5-year, effective July 1st, 2016, with terms and conditions as defined by Act 93, Category 3 agreement. And it says it was added after the study session, so therefore it wasn't discussed in the study session. So there wasn't a salary allocated to that position. There was a salary allocated to Mr. Dennis Chakey, and there was a salary allocated to Mr. Guy Rossi, but not to this position that we're discussing. So I didn't understand how the contract motion was worded so differently from what the actual contract was. So I spoke with our superintendent, Mr. Short, and he said that he felt, he received a call from the then president, Mr. Steubenbort, to push that onto the agenda. Mr. Short discussed that they were not quite ready to offer a contract for this position, and he felt rushed to do so. Mrs. Crump also said that she felt rushed, which is why she worded it this way. So going back to the censure, this is the behavior, I believe, that Mr. O'Donnell and Mrs. Warning were referencing. So having said that, we do need to vote on a salary for this position. And I think that administration is certainly happy with this individual, and there's no reason to differ from this current salary that was offered.
Not at all, and perhaps I can fill in the gaps here in the timelines. Initially, when we had that position listed in June, and it was previously budgeted for the $50,000, the position was posted, went through interviews. At that point in time, a number of different positions that we have been hiring within central administration have been moving from the Act 93 contracts into individual either 3, 4, or 5-year contracts. As an example, another employee in the upstairs for technology was an individual that was in Act 93 that got moved over. At this point, we then made a recommendation that we would be moving this employee, which is my current secretary administrative assistant, into a 5-year contract to coincide with the other assistant superintendents that we were hiring that evening. During an executive session, we made available the actual contracts and the language stipulated. It was during that time that I did have conversations with the president at the time over when we should put that on the agenda. It was at that time discussed that we would then put all three on to make it coincide with everyone having a 5-year contract. At that point in time, I did contact Mrs. Crump and told her that we would move forward with placing the recommended contract on for the agenda. We did share the terms and conditions of that contract with the board. However, during the confusion of moving into the actual meeting, the language for the contract wasn't necessarily specified. Is that accurate, Mrs. Crump?
Correct.
Yes.
So,
Sounds like a difference.
I mean, that's,
so the answer is, you recommended this person. I'm
yes.
just trying to get it straight.
I fully recommended the individual.
And it, I don't even know why we're discussing this, actually.
Well, I think what it comes down to is, do we need to vote for her pay? Did we vote?
Did we vote for her pay? Did we
No,
not?
voted.
Because it's something we need.
We
voted
voted
for it.
to accept the
Right.
contract, and in the contract, it listed the salary. What was omitted was on the original vote that we took that night that we read and approved, did not list the starting
But
salary.
the contract had it.
Yes, it was
And
in the
and we got
contract.
the contract, you said?
You received that contract in executive.
Let me add-
From executive moving out to here, we did not adequately get the language in
So you're saying, we saw the 50,000,
the terms and
We-
conditions.
so that, but then we didn't,
It wasn't on the
it
agenda.
didn't say it on the agenda. So technically, we should just say, I don't even know the number, but it doesn't matter.
Well, the idea here, the idea behind the rationale for 508 is to make sure the public knows
Okay.
that you have spent money on an item. So that's why you have to vote in public on any expenditure. That's why Mr. Schott gives you a list of bills, and they're all listed there, and anybody can come up and look at them. And that's what you're voting to approve.
Can you tell me the salary?
The starting salary was $50,000 for
Even?
this year. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to make the salary $50,000 for the administrative assistant to.
Second.
the two superintendents and the superintendent.
There are terms and
Motion by-
conditions.
And following the current terms and conditions of the contract that
Did we vote on a contract?
Well, let me
voted
add,
on the contract.
well, you have a
The
motion.
number was.
I don't want to
Second.
speak. Okay, so we can speak.
Yeah, we had a motion
I think
second.
there's 3 or 4 problems here. And, going back to what Mrs. Byrne raised, the Times Express wanted proof of the allegations that were made relative to the censure. Well, one of the proofs is that, this issue was rushed through to the board. Secondly, the board never voted on the salary, okay? Third, the board was not informed that this is a pay increase somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 30%, unheard of for a secretarial position. Next, one of the requirements of the position is not met. When you look at the job description, the individual doesn't meet that. And finally, the contract reflects pay increases that are not consistent with Act 93. And the motion said that the terms and conditions are going to be consistent with Act 93. Now, why are these things an issue? Well, it's because there are relationships here in this particular case, which are troublesome. And they've been raised on a number of occasions. But when you push a motion like this through, the board doesn't have a chance to gather all the information or hear the information. When the board can't say to the public, wait a minute, we're voting on a 25 or 30% pay increase for an individual, I think I'd like to know that. And if I think I knew that in advance, I might have stopped and considered this whole issue differently. Can I?
I didn't know if you were.
No. So there's like 5 items that are associated with this. And it's, I think, unfortunately prototypical of the way that items have been managed here. And the Times is calling for proof. Well, write the proof. okay? Go
That's-
ahead.
Okay, but I just sat here though, I believe, and I listened to Mr. Short say, I listened to, and I heard, this is what I heard, actually, in this. We budgeted $50,000. It doesn't really matter what happened, but we budgeted the $50,000. There was a contract that was seen before the vote. He told me, and it said $50,000. And he, being the administration, put it out there to say, this is what we want to do, and we approved it. The only faulty part was that we didn't put that actual number in the actual
Motion.
But it wasn't, you're trying to blame it on people that, I'm not sure that you're seeing where we're.
Well, with all due respect to your position, I mean, we look for transparency, and we want our leadership, it was Mr. Stubenboard at the time, to be transparent. In other words, hey, look, we're pushing this person forward, and we're going to give this person a 25%. When you get the markup, maybe it's a 30% pay increase. I'm not voting for a pay increase of 30%. I didn't know it, and we weren't told that.
Well, furthermore, in the rough contract that was given to us 20 minutes before the vote, it referred to this position as assistant superintendent. So, and in the contract, it lists different raises than pursuant to Act 93, which was what we were looking at when we voted. So, assuming during executive session when we're discussing important issues, we're given a contract, we're supposed to read through it and then vote, or we look at it briefly, we look at our agenda, and we see, okay, it's pursuant to Act 93. We know what those raises mean. We approve that contract as a whole. So I believe, too, that that's a major difference as well, Mr. O'Donnell.
I would like to comment on this. What's troubling to me is that you bring an 18-year veteran of the school district, a woman who's served the school district and is a wonderful employee, and you drag her into the mud in an attempt to disparage Chad. Now, this woman started working at the district when Chad was in elementary school. When we started talking about who Bill Short could hire for a secretary, there were many good candidates, okay? I can think of two that we talked about, and we specifically said to Bill, as a board, several of us, and I can vouch for this, Bill, you pick this secretary, this is the person you have to work with, and you can attest to that, Mr. Short, that nobody put any pressure on you to hire anybody. It was told that you make this decision, and we will support you in that choice. And I didn't realize that we didn't vote on the $50,000, but I do remember that I knew that number, and I do remember that it's $10,000 less than the last person who had that position, and you're acting like it's a big pay raise, but it's a different job, it's a promotion. This person is now an executive secretary to the superintendent and the two assistant superintendents. Previously, she had a different role. And as far as taking her off of Act 93, that saves us money in the long run. That saves us when she retires. That is a good thing, in my view, to have a contract individual over an Act 93. So I don't like the fact that you have brought this woman into this, and I feel very badly for her, and I apologize to her when she finds out about it, because I don't think it's fair. I think she does a good job, and I think what you're doing to our employees in public to get back at Chad is very unfortunate. And I have no problem with her pay raise. And I think that we're saving $10,000, and we knew what the budget was, and we didn't go over the budget. So I think that I think you guys are grasping at straws, and I'm disappointed. I'm just disappointed.
2 points that I think, one point that you make that's important, but I think it needs to be clarified. I examined the job descriptions of the, relative to the position she was leaving to the position she's coming to. The position she was leaving by job descriptions more complicated than the position she has now. And secondly, my point of view is that if we're going to give somebody an $8,200 and some raise, we ought to know that, okay? Whether it's above or below the budget is irrelevant.
No, I disagree with that, because no, you pay for the position, you don't pay the person. The job pays. You don't set a price for a job based on what the person coming into it has made in the past. You base the salary on the position.
Well, you can make whatever argument you want. The bottom line is that it results in over an $8,000 pay increase. We weren't told that. When you put the markups on, it moves to about $11,000. I think boards
she
and the
loses her
public have a right to know
retirement,
that. Pardon?
But she loses her retirement, actually, moving off of the
She's
Act
out of Act
93.
93. She's not
Like,
getting
so
the
she's-
pension
No,
benefit.
she's not. She's not.
So again, it's a savings.
According to the motion, she follows the terms and conditions of Act 93. That's the motion, okay?
But which motion? There's a contract.
The motion
What's the
that
contract
approved it, okay, without the salary piece.
Oh, what's the contract say? Let's hear the
The
contract.
contract actually deviates from the Act 93. It gives her more of a raise.
All right, well, we're gonna ask.
Well, I know it, I read it, okay? It gives her 2%, the Act 93, 2% a year. The Act 93s get less than 1% a year. Listen, my point is, and by the way, it has nothing to do with the individual. I know her, I like her, I'm sure she's doing a good job. This is about transparency at a public organization that's spending $72 million. Now, the cure for this issue is to simply put a motion on the table to, I think we already have
Good.
one.
We'll
to
call the
approve-
question.
Wait a second.
Call the question.
Wait 1 second, okay? To move this, and just so the public knows that you're moving a salary increase to the person of over $8,000 with the markups over 11. Just go on record that you're giving a secretary
Within the
a
budget
25%.
and $10,000 less than the last employee.
I don't care
Call
whether it's
the
less or
question.
more.
Call the question, Mr.
You're
President.
giving somebody a 25% pay raise.
Bonnie, could we have the motion read back? Because I'm not
Bonnie's
sure.
like that. Her motion, mine was my motion.
What's your motion?
Wait a
to-
minute. She should do that by memory.
Make the executive secretary to the superintendent, the assistant superintendents, $50,000
Under the terms.
under the terms and conditions of the contract that has been viewed and in place for however long.
I have a question for
9 months.
Mr. Dice. I don't know where this information came from. I don't know what we approved or did not approve before.
Just give the motion.
Did we approve the contract
Here's
before? or
here's the
anything?
motion that was made,
And the first is the transfer in June,
right?
and
which-
then the second is in August, the
Right.
vote.
So the transfer is a transfer, it's not an issue. The motion that followed that later on was the one that created the terms and conditions under Act 93, failed to disclose that it was a
That
$50,000
was
salary.
backdated to July 1st.
Right, and failed to disclose it was a 25% pay increase.
All right, so
Okay,
we just
so-
fixed that.
Yeah, we can't.
The motion was made, it was seconded, it was called the question.
Man, let me just say this, if somebody dropped the ball here, shame on them, whether it was administration or shame on us on the school board for letting this get by us. If there's something like that happens, and I know that, we have new employees here, and we had a new superintendent, we made a transition, which was tough, and we're still going through it in some way. And I hope from here on that if something like this comes up again, please speak up, let us know, because, we want to be transparent, we want the public to know what's going on. And with that, can we have a roll call vote?
This is for,
To make the salary $50,000 for that.
Well, wait a minute. The motion, if I'm correct, you made it, right?
Yes.
Is to make it $50,000 a year. Now, is that under terms and conditions of
Under
Act
terms and
93?
conditions
No.
of the contract.
Of the contract, okay.
Of the contract.
Of the one that's been executed?
Yes.
Which is a 2% pay increase every year?
Whatever.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Please.
Mrs. Byrne?
Yes.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. Nola?
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell?
No.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mr. Stubenbort?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now, is there any more employees that we need to maybe go back and check on?
Don't know.
Maybe,
We'll go and review the minutes for
I
the
would
last
appreciate
year.
Only if they know Chad.
Stop that,
Just,
really. Stop it.
I'll
okay?
look from-
Wait a minute, wait a second. I'm just gonna ask to stop that, because it's a shot. If we want to get into that, I'll be glad to do that.
Mrs. Burns, do you have anything else?
That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Donnell?
I want to report that the Buildings and Grounds Committee is going to meet at 6 o'clock on the 6th of April here, so it'll be a public meeting, at which time we expect to have open the bids for air conditioning systems, switchgear, and roofs. And that'll be significant because we estimate that's going to be in the $1 million+ range, maybe a little lower. We will also go through the balance of the work that the Building and Grounds Committee has been doing, and we'll report on progress made on those smaller items that I referenced last time, and that's all I have to report.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, what time is that meeting?
6 o'clock on the 6th.
April 6th.
Mrs. Rucci?
After we voted to advertise our school police on monster.com, I believe it was, we got 16 resumes. Of those 16, 8 of them met the qualifications, and the 8 interviews are being scheduled and have already begun. So that's great news. I have nothing else.
For school report.
All right. Where to begin? So I'm going to keep this brief, simply because we've been going at this for 3 months. The brush at Evergreen was added after at a board comment section, if we're going to talk about transparency. AC units to be purchased at kindergarten or K through 5 buildings. K through 4 buildings was approved during your board report. A raise for union members in certain unions was brought up after with no public comment. A cafe shop was actually on tonight's agenda until about a few hours prior to the meeting for $35,000 under your board resolution. An architect had $20,000 in credit, which you tried to pawn off as, you called them in good faith, and they deducted $5,000. It wasn't until I brought it up at a public meeting that there was actually this $20,000 that they went down another $5,000, so it wasn't your good faith effort. All that being said, good sense, common sense, and proper process is what should rule this school board. It's the only way to achieve a better district as we all work to move forward, not the kind of double standards and political game playing imposed by Steve, Stephanie, and Val. When we talk about things like this, we overlook things like Olivia Livingston, winning first place in states, breaking records from Olympic medalists. So the Whitfield record she broke was Olympic medalist. She broke it. Chad Van Horn was in the trip this past week for being big brother of the state of Florida, a Gateway graduate, an attorney down in Florida. People that we should be praising from the district that are being overlooked because of political games from a man that donated $8,000 to a possible, not even a political adversary, a possible political opponent in the general election, and by another individual who circulated one of her petitions. So if we really want to draw these things out, my suggestion, which I've said several times now, if you think that I did these heinous things that you're preaching, I urge you to turn me in to the Monroeville Police if it's criminal. I urge you to turn me into the Ethics Commission if it's unethical. Because what we've seen this evening is an individual sit here and say, I talked to this person, they said this, I talked to this person, they said that, and then that person spoke and told a completely different story. So I would much rather receive a black eye individually than this district as a whole. If anyone has a problem, anyone thinks anything I did was unethical, turn me in. Okay? I'll take anything you throw at me individually, but don't bring down this district. Don't play what these students have been doing. Don't overplay what these teachers have been doing for political games. I suggest we leave it out. Let's talk about it on the record. Let's talk about it in the paper. Let's do debates if you want to do that. But let school board meetings be school board meetings. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Mr. Nolan?
Yes. Hi, you. All right, I have a few things. Quickly. The art behind us, actually, and the art show is at the library through Saturday. The students in K through 12, there's art at the library. So go over and just it's in the lobby areas. Kind of, I think that's what they call it. It's in the gallery, actually. Go over and check it out. It's very nice. It's all of our students participating. It's very, very good art. So please go see that. I'd like to say one thing. I'm the first that recommended you for the building and grounds, by the way. I don't know if you.
Are you
recall.
regretting that?
No.
Oh.
So I'm glad that, you're doing a great job there. I knew you would. And I recommended to you. It took us a little bit of time to get you to take it, but I don't know if you recall, but I was the one that asked you multiple times.
I actually have your name up on the wall and a small candle lit underneath of it as in thanking you. So, yeah, and we're going to bring that home on.
But I thank you for all the work that you're doing on that.
Kind of
Very
like
good.
the artwork.
And I think everybody's going to benefit greatly from it. So, thank you. All right, I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to. It probably shouldn't come after Chad's comment here, but I'm going to say it anyway. All right. I don't like to get philosophical, but I think I heard something this last week that could help me to gain the proper focus. So I just want to share it with you guys. This person said, when faced with a challenge, like someone challenges your position, whatever your position is, don't attack, don't defend, don't withdraw. And as this person saying this, I'm thinking to myself, boy, it doesn't leave many options left, does it? And then they said this. They said, take the opportunity to re-examine your position, focus on the mission, and then respond accordingly. And I think we should all just think about that, because I think that's good advice. So don't attack, don't defend, don't withdraw. Take the opportunity to re-examine your position, focus on the mission, and then respond accordingly. Before I close, though, I got one more thing. So, and I've done this multiple times, and I actually have it printed off, but it's at home, so I couldn't get it. So, because of our mission, I went out to our website. I was at work, and I tried to find our mission, and it's not on the website anymore since we got a new website. I was a little irritated about that. We should get our mission back on the website under the About part, probably. Micah. So our mission I don't believe is on the website anymore. I looked all around. So that's all.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
One more quick thing.
I'll find it for
If you don't mind. Ticket sales are on sale for Cinderella, the musical. The musical will be the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and then also the 28th and 29th. If you've never been to a Gateway musical, go. They compete with anything down at the Benedum. Always a great show. So please go buy your tickets, and they usually sell pretty quickly. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lapsevich.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our board members, my colleagues might have our ups and downs, but I am honored to represent Marilyn Pitcairn in his chair. Tomorrow, Wednesday at 8 p.m., WTAE is having a program on drugs. Last year, 402 people passed away on drug overdoses in Allegheny County. There were 3 in our area in the past week alone. If you suspect your child is using drugs, don't ignore it. It won't go away, and seek help for him, them, and yourself. Today would have been my son's 38th birthday. He died 9 years ago of an overdose. We thought we knew our son too, but we didn't. So as a parent and a board member, I'm asking and praying every parent to sit with your child, watch Wednesday's program together. Be open-minded, talk, and listen to your child's needs. And last of all, I would like to say to my wife, hang in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lapsevich. Ms. Warning?
Yes, I have to say I'm sorry to 2 people, or maybe more, but Olivia's parents were here. And without her parents' support, I don't think Olivia would be where she's at. Getting her to all the practices, everything, we don't realize it, that how much our parents are there to get us to everything that needs to be done too. So Olivia, to your parents, your family, thank you. You got her to where she is. And without your support, there'd be a void. Okay, moving on. I do talk, so excuse me. To all the fundraisers that we had this week, my husband loved it. Five Guys, Chipotle's, and Panera. The support that I saw when I went into these places was phenomenal. It shows that the community is working with the school district to give back to the school district, which we need, and they in turn are getting things for the schools that's much needed. On the 23rd, Thursday, besides National Honor Societies, I want to congratulate all the students that will be inducted into that. There will also be at Gateway Middle School Music in Our School concert, and UP is having their March Math Madness program. That was adopted several years ago from Ms. Sherry DeBone that she had got from Franklin Regional. They did, and to see the kids, it's phenomenal what they do. They have all these, it's like centers, and the kids move around, and they are with their parents. It's a parent-child activity, and they just see how many they get right. It's great, and I just love seeing the parents involved with their students. The 22nd, Evergreen is finishing up their Pennies for Patients, and I'm curious to see how many pennies that they did collect. On Saturday, the 8th of April, University Park is having their Breakfast with the Bunny, and that's going to be in coordination with Make-A-Wish. So 9 to 12 at University Park, if anybody would like to take their child to meet the Easter Bunny, it's a good place and a good breakfast. The spring holiday, which will be April 13th through the 17th, just giving you students a heads up. And report cards will be administered, or you can get your report cards online on April 4th. And as Chad said, the musical will be starting on the 21st through the 28th, with the 23rd and 29th having matinees. Since today was our first full day of spring, we can look forward to Camp Invention, which will be at Mosside Middle this year, July 10th through the 13th, which you can go online right now and sign up for that. We had received something in the executive session, and I would like the board to look at it before we vote on it again. It's our final recommendations from administration for the GAP Achievement Committee. And so you can look at this board so we can discuss this, because we will be voting on this again. We will be voting on it again at our April 4th meeting. And one other thing. We're at that time of the year, which baseball, softball, lacrosse, golf, volleyball, and track is in gear. Everybody's up, everybody's raring to go. We had to cancel our first baseball game, and which will be on Friday, and flagpole will be up. I hope so. But anyhow, I'm just saying, we need a flag, we need something up, whether just put a little flag or something up there, so, okay, just say something.
Take the one out of the LGI equipment.
So we'll just put something up there, but if you guys get a chance, everything, the schedules are online, take a look at it. These kids really put their heart into it. They do a lot of practicing. It's just not for the season, it's year-round, and we should be there to support our kids. And I just want to say, following up with Mrs. Byrne, I am really getting tired of seeing my name in the paper for something I thought bringing up, and I know I hear the huffs and puffs, but they want proof. Okay, I really don't want to get into this, but hopefully this will end it to our newspaper writers that are here. I had received a call, which I was only on 4 months on the board. I didn't know policies. I didn't know a lot that was going on at the time. And it was, I believe it was the 21st of April, which Mr. Steubenport called and asked me if it would be okay to drive the school van to pick up a presidential candidate. I didn't know. I said, I guess okay, you know, not realizing everything that was needed. Come to find out, there was no insurance coverage, that he had insurance coverage driving the van. And he also told us that he had a waiver that he was signed. When I asked him about the waiver, he said he just made the waiver up himself. Now, that put us in such a liability, not just to the board, but to the whole school district. So I'm just saying, let's be transparent. Yes, there is proof, there is things. I want this to be done. We've got, well, everything was fine last week. I want it to be over, but let's try to do things the correct way, and let's focus on the Olivia Livingstons the baseball teams that are coming up, the track stars that are coming up, everything to make it good. Let's put this in the past and let it be done. And with that, that's my report. Oh, one other thing. The weather is getting nice. Teachers, principals, first period teachers, could we please look at our dress code of the students and make sure we follow it? If anybody has questions, it's online, it's in the handbook, but let's dress appropriately for this time of the year. And with that, that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Val. In closing, I'd just like to say hats off to Olivia also. Congratulations to her and the swim team and the coaches. Baseball season's here, softball, track. My phone's ringing off the hook, Mr. Brown. If we could get maybe our field guy to live at the fields for the next couple weeks, I think that might help.
Stand over the field with umbrellas.
But also, I hope that this banter back and forth between, our members here, I hope it ends here, and if they wish to continue, they take it to the paper. The best thing about this school board, though, is when we leave this room, we all talk to each other. There's no grudges, nobody, swearing at each other, anything else. So that's the best thing about this, is when we leave here, it's on a good measure.
It's over between you and me now. I'm not.
Oh, it hasn't begun yet. But with that, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, also, good job to the band. They were up in Boston for St. Patrick's Day parade. Watched the video on that. Good job.
So,
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
What time are you guys leaving in the morning? Did you all decide? Are you really gonna pick him up at 6:30? And he didn't fuss? Or he doesn't know it yet?
The actual